I would like to present Claire Deakin, first in Spanish, then in English. La señora Claire Deakin es una entusiasta, creativa y experimentada especialista en capacitación que apoya a los bibliotecarios, profesores, estudiantes e investigadores en la producción de la mejor investigación posible. Su experiencia incluye el diseño, desarrollo y entrega de capacitación profesional integral, utilizando una combinación de estrategias como presentación en el salón de clase, talleres, video instructivo, podcast y seminario interactivo en línea, entre otros. Claire, gracias por estar aquí para ayudarnos a comprender mejor esta base de datos de métodos de investigación. Mrs. Claire Deakin is an enthusiastic, creative, and experienced training specialist who supports librarians, faculty, students, and researchers in producing the best research possible. Her expertise includes the design, development, and delivery of comprehensive professional training using a combination of strategies such as classroom presentations, workshops, instructional videos, podcasts, and interactive online webinars, among others. Claire, thank you for being here to help us to better understand this research methods database. The floor is yours, Claire. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for that introduction, and it's a delight and a pleasure to be here. Hopefully you can all see my screen and hear me well as well, and thank you very much for that fantastic introduction for having me along. So yeah, as you can see, I am the library training and engagement specialist here at Sage, and it's my job to support faculty, librarians, researchers with the platforms we have at Sage, and as Charles said, to support you in doing the best research possible. So for the next 90 minutes or so, I'll be telling you all about this fantastic platform, Sage Research Methods. It's going to help you with your research projects. Today, I'm going to give you an introduction to the platform and tell you what it is, what it's been designed to do, how it can be used. And then I'm going to give you an overview of the content that you have access to at University of Puerto Rico. Most of today, I will be giving a live demonstration of the platform itself. So what it looks like, how it works. We'll focus in on the features, the content, the tools you can use to do your research. And I'm going to do this by way of a case study. So we're going to take a real project. We're going to look at the various ways we can search for content to support it. And at the end, I'd really like today to give you all some time actually on the platform so that you can start looking at how it's going to be useful to you, looking at some materials, and we'll have plenty of time for questions as well. Hopefully you've all found the chat panel. If you want to type hello, please do let me know how you are today. If at any point during the session you have a question, you have any feedback, if it's something I can pick up on, it's a good point to pick up on, we'll grab it there and then. If not, we will have time for questions. We'll have some drop up points, we'll have some pick up points and time for questions at the end. So hopefully we can give you all the support you need today. I'm going to put a link in the chat panel now, and hopefully you can find that, and that's to a Mentee survey. So if you can click the link in the chat panel, I have put the details on there if you want to open a new tab or a device for mentee.com. And when you go in there, you should be able to be directed to a survey. When you found this page, if you can give me the thumbs up on the page, there's a link in the Zoom chat panel to take you to this page. Let's make sure you can all find it and access the survey. So I click the little speech bubble on Zoom, find the chat panel, click the Mentee survey. Someone's found it. Wonderful, fantastic. A few people finding that now. Or you can go to mentee.com and there's a code 15135119. I'll get the first question up there. I can see a few people have joined, and I want to find out a little bit more about who I've got on the session today, just so I can really tailor today's session and make it as useful as I can and tell you as much as I can about what we're looking at today. So we've got a couple of faculty members. Hello, we have a researcher, fantastic. We have our librarian there as well. That's brilliant. I can see more and more people joining. This is wonderful. So I'll give you a little bit of time just to find that. If you're just joining, we have a link in the chat panel to the Mentee survey. I'll pop it in again. And we've got mentee.com 15135119. If you're having problems with it, use the chat panel on Zoom. I am keeping an eye on that as well. More and more people coming in there now. So I can see a few more researchers, some more faculty. Good. That's a nice mixture for me. I can show you some of the features on the platform, how it's going to be useful for you in your role. The researchers are determined to win this race, but joining all the time. That's wonderful. Thank you. If we go to the next question, I want to find out, and this is a couple of sliding bars on here, how familiar and how confident you are in doing a research project. Are you new to the world of research? Are you perhaps more experienced and further on in your journey? But also how experienced you are at using SAGE research methods. It might be that you're not familiar with it at all, and that you've not really explored it at all. It might be that you've used it a few times, that you're using it all the time in your research. And I can see there's a nice big gap here, and that's really good. So lots of you, while you're experienced in doing your research, we've got a couple of people maybe a little bit nearer the research journey, but lots of people very, very experienced in doing research. That's fantastic. With SAGE research methods, a little bit less. And again, that's a really, really good point for us to start, because today we can look at how what you're doing in your research project translates to SAGE research methods, and how this platform can be used to support you in that research. It's a good place for us to start. We'd like to see by the end of today, we'll get you all up here using SAGE research methods in your projects. One last question. And what are you hoping to learn more about today? So you've joined a SAGE research methods session, you've joined the activity, you've come along at 9 a.m. and hopefully as a sunny morning. What are you hoping that I'm going to cover? What would you like to see? What would you like to learn more about? Let's see what you're typing. And again, if you've had any problems accessing the Mentee, I am watching the chat panel on Zoom as well. Let's see what people want to know. I hope you're all furiously typing away. Doing more accurate searches, that's brilliant. I'm going to show you a number of ways of browsing the platform and really breaking down what you're looking for when you're thinking about your research. The tools that are available, yep, they're really, really exciting. A couple of tools that we have available to you, so I can show you how they work. Applying the resource to your course is brilliant. We're coming through now the database, improving research methods and finding resources linked. They're absolutely fantastic. How to be able to access the platform, use it as a tool for next year's research project, absolutely brilliant. A general how to use it, how to access it. This is all really good stuff. Thank you so much for typing in there and for completing the survey. It gives me a really good idea of where we're starting out from, who we've got on the session today and what you want to know. So thank you very much for that. And just a reminder, if you are just joining, there's a registration document that's just gone into the chat panel. If you can all make sure you do that as well, that would be wonderful. Brilliant. So first of all, let's think about SAGE research methods. I'm going to introduce you to the platform. A lot of you are just starting out with it. So let's think about what it is and what it's designed to do. So SAGE research methods is a database. It is a database of resources, very engaging, very interactive resources, all solely dedicated to research methods and research methodology. And the aim of the whole thing is to help researchers do the best research possible through lots of different content, resources, lots of different formats. And they're all designed to upskill and support researchers in your projects. And here we're really thinking about the project step by step. So from early planning stages, deciding how to approach your research, your data collection, your analysis, right through all the stages to the presentation or publication of that data. So in other words, everything a researcher needs to guide them through and embark on and complete that successful research project. It supports lots of different needs and challenges. If you're having certain issues or problems you might have in your research as you approach a project. So you'll find that step-by-step guidance on how to formulate, write up your research. It's really important to note as well that this platform's slightly different. It's not so much about your field, but it's about growing your skill set as a researcher within that field. So learning the techniques, the approaches you should take to any academic research project, defining your topic, collecting your data, planning your research, and so on. And it's great if you're just starting out. It looks like a lot of you are much more experienced researchers, and it's a great place, even if you are at that higher level of research, you're used to doing research. It's kind of been designed as a go-to place to build up your research skills, enhance the quality of your research, no matter what level or stage of study you're at. The whole thing is designed as a research one-stop shop for you to do the best research possible, whatever your specialism. So we can see on the screen, Sage Research Methods is one platform, and it's broken down into different components or modules. And it's been designed as a pick and mix model so that universities can choose which modules are going to be most useful to the researchers at that institution. And you have access at the University of Puerto Rico to some fantastic modules, some really good content to support you with your research. You can see there we've got the core, our cases, 1, 2, and medicine and health. So that's our cases. There's a collection there focused solely on medicine and health, and our data sets. Before we go to the platform, I'm going to look at very quickly at what these modules provide. So our core module is our most popular module. It's a really nice multimedia module, and in this you're going to find over 1,000 books, so full print versions of digital versions of print text on the site, and reference works, so encyclopedias, dictionaries, so that the full digital versions of print text, of books, of handbooks, the little blue books and little green books, which each focus on a different qualitative or quantitative research method. And we've also got the dictionaries if you need a quick definition of a research method concept, and then encyclopedias to look at that in a little bit more context. There are also some videos in the course, so I will have a little look at those, and journal articles. The thing that they're really focusing on is research methods. It's nice sort of mixed media, mixed content, and maybe different learning styles, introducing you to concepts, adding a little bit of variety to your research. I know someone said they want to see the tools. The 2 fantastic tools that I'm going to demonstrate to you today are our methods map and our project planner. I must warn you, I do get giddy about the methods map. It's quite exciting. and the project planner to help you through planning your research. I mentioned that you also have cases, and these are the case studies. They're essentially stories of how real research projects have been conducted. There are over 750 case studies, all written firsthand by researchers, giving an account of their research design, the realities of conducting their own research project. And you'll find that the researchers will discuss things like why they chose the methods that they used, how they overcame any problems, what those problems were, how they overcame them, what they might have done differently given some hindsight. Each case focuses on a particular method, and they all have learning objectives, so you can very quickly check whether they're relevant. They have discussion questions, so if you are faculty and you're teaching a class, you can use a real life case to explore approaches to that with those discussion questions. And it's all about how to analyze their data, how they drew conclusions from their data, really learning about the typical process of conducting reliable research, to view real life examples, to really enhance your understanding of how research methods are used. You can explore all different methods, see how it's set up, researched, analysed through these examples. And the whole idea of it is, when you come to conduct your own research project, is that something I need to consider? I know that this researcher had this issue. Is that something that's likely to affect me? How can I bypass that? How can I overcome this? So you can use them to really as a kind of evidence for taking your research in a certain direction. We've also got the data sets, and these are really interesting. It's a collection of more than 500 samples of data. The idea is that you search for a data set that matches the methods you've used or the types of data you're analysing in your own project, and you look at the sample on the screen and you practice with it. There's a collection of, there's both qualitative and quantitative data sets, surveys, experiments, interview transcripts, photographic data. It doesn't just plonk the data in front of you and say, right, off you go, analyze that, practice. Each data set includes a step-by-step user guide. So it gives you advice on how to analyze your chosen data set. And the idea with that is when you approach your own research, you've had the hands-on practice, you know how to draw conclusions from that data, things to look for, pointers. You can approach your data with a bit more confidence. And if you're teaching a course, you can also use the data sets to help students practice methods that you're teaching, or use the ready sourced and edited data sets for exam questions or assignments. In there's also examples of what I call dirty data. You might find data with missing variables, other problems. So you can use this module to really help you to learn how to use less than perfect data as well. So that's an overview of the types of content that we're looking at on the platform. I'm just going to grab, if my notepad will allow me to pick it up. There we go. I want to talk a little bit about accessing Sage Research Methods, and just to make sure that you're happy in finding it. I'm going to show you how we're going to log in, and we're going to create a profile. So before we start browsing, it's really important when you go on to Sage Research Methods that you access the site through your university library. I've put a link into the chat panel, and I will very quickly go on to this screen here. It's really important that you're coming in through the University of Puerto Rico library sign-in, that you're signed in via your library. And you can see here the A to Z database, and we can see Sage Research Methods here. And Rosanna's very kindly put a link in the chat panel for you as well. The reason it's so important that you're coming in through your library is when you go to Sage Research Methods, it will recognize you as a user from that university. You've been authenticated as a user from University of Puerto Rico. You're going to be able to access all of the content available to you as a researcher at that institution. So it's really important that you are going in through that library catalogue. And a really good early indicator that you've gone in the right way, when you go onto the site, always check the top right hand corner, and if you can see University of Puerto Rico, or you can see the university logo, that's a good quick indicator that you've come in through the right way. You're going to be able to access all of the content that you're supposed to, so your core, your cases, your data sets, and you can now go and access any of that content available to you. I'll take a second if it is, and make sure everybody's happy, they know where that is. If you are having any issues either finding the site or logging into your library catalogue, any problems like that, contact your library and they'll be able to support you in accessing that resource. If there's anything you want to type into the chat panel for us to pick up, and we can try and troubleshoot that, please do let us know. But it's really important that you're coming in through your library. And here I am on the Sage Research Methods landing page. We're going to check that logo is there. I know I've got access to all the content I'm supposed to. And next to that, there's a profile. Now, creating a profile doesn't change your access to any of the content. What it does do is allow you to personalize your experience a little bit more. You can create reading lists, you can customize video clips, you can save searches, and anybody, as I know there's a question come in, when you go on to this, set up your profile, whether you're faculty, researcher, whatever your role may be, if you don't have a profile, create one. This is your Sage Research Methods profile. It's quite separate from your library login, and it's really been designed just so that you can personalize your experience. If I log in to my site here, we can see under my profile, you're very, very welcome, Niska. Under my profile, it's now giving me a number of options. I can save my searches, I can start saving my reading list, I can start gathering my resources that are useful to me in my project. So I'm logged in, I've got my logo, I know I'm in the right place. I've logged into my profile, I can now start viewing some content and saving it and really starting to work with what I need to see on this site. So we're logged in. A reminder, if you do have questions, I know a couple have come in, that's fantastic. Please keep typing in there and I'm happy to help. Now we're logged in, we've got our profile. We can start browsing the content. And this is really what I want to address really early on in the session. What do we need to think about as researchers when we use this platform? So it's highly likely we're all researching different disciplines. We will definitely all have different projects. But today, what I really want to think about is that we're all sharing a common subject today, and that's research methods, research skills, whatever course you're on, whatever subject. The kind of resource you're doing across your various projects is going to vary. But here's where we need to think. It's not so much about your field, it's about growing your skill set as a researcher within that field, learning the techniques and approaches you should take to any academic research project. And here what we're really thinking about is research methods as a subject in its own right. It's universal, whatever your discipline, those skills. And that's really what this database caters to. And it's what we're going to focus on as we start browsing. So let's have a think. What are we going to browse? First of all, I want us to think about the methods you're using in your research project. Is it case study research, survey research? Have you set up a focus group? Maybe some qualitative interviewing? Are you using online surveys? Think about the types of data you're getting from those methods, the data that you've got to analyse. It might be news articles, graphs, letters, photographs, survey results, numeric data, transcripts. And then lastly, the stage you're at in your project. So the methods, the types of data and the stage you're up to. Are you formulating your question? Are you writing your methodology? Are you preparing to publish your work? So think about where your project's up to. What do you need to do next? What are your aims? What do you need to do to get there? Are you facing a particular challenge? What are you stuck on? Are there any key words related to your topic that you'd like to look at examples of? So as we're thinking about methods, data and stages, to find some content on the site, we're going to take a research paper that was carried out at the University of Puerto Rico. I have found a journal article. It's already been published, but we're going to use this as a hypothetical example of how we can use SAGE research methods to inform and support our research. And this is a paper about mitochondrial DNA. That's our journal article. I'm not going to ask you to read a complete journal article very quickly, nothing like that. Don't worry too much. But what we're going to do, I've got on the screen here an overview. We've got our project description. And this is a project that's looking at lupus patients, and it's ascertaining whether or to what extent their mitochondrial DNA is damaged compared to healthy patients. Now, I must say I am not an expert on anything remotely medical. I study history, so if you want medical expertise, I'm probably not your woman, but I can absolutely start to look at this and think about the methods, the data and the stage of the project. We can take that to SAGE research methods and start looking for useful resources. So we've got the overview of the project, some information on the methods used to assess lupus patients and the damage to their mtDNA. We're using this as an example. Based on what we know we're going to be browsing, I'm going to move to the chat panel. Can anyone identify anything from this write-up that we might search for on SAGE research methods? Any methods or data or keywords that we might start looking at on the platform? So I'll move to the chat panel. Has anybody got any ideas of any methods or types of data or the stage of our project that we might be looking for on SAGE research methods, looking at that description? I'll give you a few seconds to very quickly read it through. Anybody got any ideas of what we might start looking for? Brilliant. Somebody's written cross-sectional study. Fantastic. Really, really good. Anybody identify any more methods that are being used or any types of data that we might be analysing in this project? I'll take a little sip while you're thinking and reading. Case control, so that's written. Okay, fantastic. Okay, let's have a quick look. So there's quite a number of methods listed here. I've highlighted a few here. So we definitely got cross-sectional study, fantastic. There are a number of different methods and different tests, various tests and methods listed. We've got case control, paired t-test, the Wilcoxon signed rank test, pairwise correlation, the Mann-Whitney U-test. I have absolutely no idea what any of these are, but they are methods, they're tests that we're going to use to gather this data, and I've highlighted them there. The types of data. So we're going to have the data and the results from all those tests to analyse. Our write-up actually lists evaluating continuous variables, unpaired t-test statistics. So we're going to have a lot of data to analyse. So the methods, the data, think about the stage of the project. So we've decided what data we're going to analyse, how we're going to collect it. We're looking perhaps at the design of our research. Let's say we're up to the stage where we're putting together our research plan. We're planning these methods. We're thinking about the data we want to generate. So I've written a few of them there. I've written a few key search terms from our project description, the types of methods we might be using. And what I'm going to do is take these search terms to Sage Research Methods, going to have a bit of a deep dive and show you some of the different ways of searching and start thinking about how we can use the platform and the cases. So let's go back to Sage Research Methods, and here we are on the landing page. We've logged into the platform. We've got our project overview. We're ready to start our project. We've accessed Sage Research Methods. Where can we start? Let's think about first of all about the stage we're at in our project. And I want to start this by showing you one of our research tools. So if we hover over research tools here, in the core module, we've got a really good example of an online project planner, something you can use to help you through your research journey. And here we're really thinking about the importance of organising our research, of writing, of thinking about the different stages of a project, really a framework to follow. And you can see that the planner on screen is an example of a framework to help you plan. And it's taking you through the logical steps of your research, of a project. So from defining your topic and to developing your question, collecting your data and analysing it, writing up, perhaps you're looking at even go as far as publishing. Having a plan such as it's a really nice place to start if you want to move through your project, having this framework to let you know what's expected and what to think about at each stage. If you are more experienced, you might be looking to upskill, you might be looking for recent developments, you might want to improve a technique, perhaps ensure consistency when working across a team, and having a plan in place can be a really good way to move your research along. So you might be ready to write up, so how do I write my methodology? How do I write my abstracts? And you can see there's information there as far as PhD theses, publishing a journal article, perhaps if you're further on and looking at publishing. If you're teaching or supervising learners, teaching them about research, it's a really nice example of a framework to follow to provide some structure to help your learners to find out about the stage they're at or about an area you need to support them with. Or if you are in the library, you're running a research workshop on data analysis, for example, you might want to start here and pick up some bits and pieces. The project planner is set out as a question and answer. If we look at, for example, planning and practicalities, there are questions you might be asking yourself as you work through your project. So each section's been set out that way. For example, if we're ready to start planning our research, how do I plan the various stages of my research project? And Here we've got some nice videos breaking it down. So you're starting to see how the information's really broken down, and some nice bullet pointed lists for you to really think about. There are some hyperlinked words, and that's where we can start to see on this site. Always look for the hyperlink. There are always options to find out more. And we can see there's a find out more section here to click to further information, to do your initial exploration and find out more about your project and really put some meat on the bones and find out how to approach it. Before we start looking at any more content, I just want to point out some functionality buttons that are really are common across the platform, things you can do to make it really easy to gather your resources. Every piece of content is downloadable, so you can download that as a PDF. That opened quite quickly. I thought it was going to be slow while I've got Zoom open, but it surprised me. So you can download that as a PDF if you want to print that or read it away from the platform. You can download that there. If you want to cite and make a reference to any content on the platform, there's a quick cite button in all of the content. You select your preferred referencing format. Make sure it's the referencing format preferred by your school or by your department. Select your preferred referencing format and copy that. Or if you have a reference manager, we do support a number of those to export the reference directly to your reference manager. Next to that, we've got list. Now, I spoke at the beginning when we got onto the platform, we created our profiles. That one of the ways that you can customize your experience is by creating reading lists, and you can create multiple lists linked to different areas of your project, perhaps different methods. You can see I've got a number of those there. I might want to add that to my existing list. I'm going to create a new list for us today. I'm putting UPR, University of Puerto Rico. I don't know if you shorten it to that, but it saves me typing. I'm going to press create. I've created that reading list. I've added that piece of content to my reading list. So what we're going to do today, as we search for all our key search terms, I'm going to be adding lots of bits and pieces to that reading list, and we'll explore what that looks like at the end. We've also got the share option, so perhaps if this is somebody you're working on a project with or somebody you're supervising, you think this might be useful for, you might want to send that out to them that way as well. Just a reminder, if you do have questions, please type them at any time into that Zoom chat panel. I will pick them up as we go. If there's anything else you want me to look at on the planner. But once you've got a plan, we're now going to start looking into each step of our research in more detail, and you can start looking for content to develop those research skills, inform our research methods, and complete our projects. So a good way of searching is to conduct a keyword search. You see, I'm on the landing page here. And remember, again, we're focusing on the methods we're using, the data we're analysing at the stage of our project. Here we're going to start with the methods we took from our project overview. I know someone said cross-sectional studies, so I'm going to type that in here. Let's see what comes up. And I'm typing it in, and I'm going to click search. What this does is this searches for content across the platform related to cross-sectional studies. We can see I've got nearly 2,000 results. A couple of things to point out here. When you get onto this page, a quick click of content available to me will make sure that you don't see any padlocked content. Now, I'm clearly logged in with Sage. I can't replicate exactly what your search results are going to come up with. I've got access to slightly different modules, but a quick click of that content available to me will ensure that anything in this results list is going to be accessible, and you can be able to access and use that. We've got a number of ways of filtering. So if you do have a large number of results, you might want to filter by publication date, by the type of result you're getting, and by discipline. Perhaps maybe we should drop this down. Let's put this as medicine. We've got dentistry there, we've got medicine, we've got nursing, and we've got public health. So I've filtered that by discipline to medicine. We can see I've now got a nice description of medicine and some keywords. Again, these hyperlinks, clinical research, epidemiological research, things that are going to be useful to me in that discipline. You might also want to go into content type, and here we can start thinking about the different types of content on the platform. We know we have the books in core. Perhaps I want to start with a reference work. I want to get a quick definition of what I'm doing. When you're looking at these search results, always look at the methods, check that they're matching up with the methods that you're using. The keywords, see if there's anything linked to your project that's going to be particularly useful to you. I'm going to open study design, a quick click on the title, and that will open that there for us. I can read that straight away. I can start reading that straight away on the platform. I might want to look at the different sections. Is there anything there that's going to be useful to me? I've clicked on experimental and quasi-experimental designs. We can see there's a really nice section on cross-sectional studies. I've got a nice flow chart to take me through that. So it's really giving me a good breakdown of the method. So this is probably going to be nice and useful. I will put that in my reading list. We should have a UPR reading list there. And can I ask if you've got your microphone open? If you wouldn't mind, please just turning that off for a moment. We are having a bit of background noise. That would be fantastic. Thank you. If you do have questions, though, please pop them in that chat panel. I'll pick them up for you straight away. So I've saved this to our reading list now. That's going to be really, really useful to me. Let's go back to our search results. It might be that we want to really think about how we can modify this search. Let's put select all. So when you're in your search results, you can modify it even further and really look at more advanced search parameters. A quick click of modify search will take you to this advanced search page, and this really allows you to filter your results to specific collections or publications or disciplines and filter it down a little bit more. So we've got cross-sectional studies. I might want to look at that as a method, a keyword. Perhaps I want to see where it pops up in an abstract. If I want to narrow these parameters, I can click add search, and it allows me to search for more than one term. And I've got my Boolean operators there, and or not, to increase or decrease the complexity of my search. So I'll have a look down here. I might want to perhaps look at all books. Perhaps I want to find a book this time. Remember, you've got access to those digital versions of full print text. I can see that I've still got medicine clicked from when I was filtering my results there. So I'll leave that as it is. As you can see, a number of others listed there. And also by product, so if you want to look in a specific collection, we can see it's the ones at the top really that you're focusing on. The SAGE research methods is your core, so your books and your reference works. We've got some cases and your data sets. So you can really narrow it down to one of those collections. So I'm going to click search. Is it on its way? Let's see what we get. And I've searched for books under medicine. Still in my cross-sectional studies search. It's giving me links to the different types of books. Again, I can start going through this list and looking at the methods and the keywords. And opening up a book, I've opened up study designs. Again, I can read this on the page. I can also find in the chapter. Let's have a look at cross-sectional. Let's see if that's coming up anywhere in this chapter. You can see we've got a really nice chapter on that as well. So I'll save that to my reading list. Let's do that. And I'm going to keep doing this because I'm going to show you what that looks like at the end. And you can see that this chapter is part of a larger book, Introductory Statistics for Health and Nursing. I might want to open that whole work. It's giving me a list of chapters. Perhaps I want to look for one of my other search terms here. I can see paired t-test there. So perhaps that I can find something on that in here. If I type in t-test, fingers crossed, and we can see that that crops up in a couple of chapters. So I've got chapter 8, it's got 11 matches of the word t-test. So I might want to go into that and really check that out. I can start reading through it. I might want to look at the sections that it's broken down into. Come on, sections, have a little think about it. Doesn't really want to press, does it? Let's try that again. There we go. So we might want to start having a look at how this is broken down, the sections within this chapter. A chi-square test, we had that on our list, so we might want to go to that. This looks like it's going to be useful. You can see it's all really nicely laid out. We've got images there to help us and some graphs and charts. Fisher's exact test, that's another one of our search terms. So yeah, really good. I'm going to add this to our list. You can see we're really starting now to gather our preliminary information on our methods and really find more and more information. I've added that to my reading list. So you can go through the reading list. You can add to the reading list from your search results as well. So I might add that one there too, just while we're here. I'm going to keep bulking up this reading list as we go through. Again, methods, keywords, add to your reading list from here as well. Some nice bits and pieces there, searching and reviewing the literature. So again, we're thinking about the stages of our project. So we did that by modifying our search. A quick note that at any point on this landing page, if you click advanced here, that will take you directly to that advanced search. So if you want to look for those advanced search parameters, you absolutely can do. A reminder, I've got the chat panel open. At any point you need me to stop, we go over anything. If you've got questions or feedback, let me know. We've searched on the landing page. We knew what we were going to search for. What if we want to browse the different methods or start looking at how methods relate to one another, or even look at how methods are broken down? We've got a tool to help you with that. And this is the one I really like. And I would urge you all to have a little look at the methods map. So if you hover over research tools and go to methods map. I'm a big fan of this. Sorry if I do get overexcited, but please do go and have a look and you might see why. It's a visualization tool. And what it does is it breaks down the topics. It shows you how concepts and methods relate to one another. Sometimes it can help you make a decision on the method you want to use, introduce you to a new method you hadn't considered before, shows you how that method can be broken down, and it can also lead you to further content. So it's another way of searching. It's really interactive. It gives you a brilliant visual. Let me show you how it works. So we've got our main topic here, research methods. That's the broadest search term on the platform. We've got a nice description of what that is. In the narrower terms, we've got ways in which that can be broken down. And the idea is that the narrower you go, the more specialized, the more granular that breakdown of information is. So I might want to click on quantitative data analysis. I think that might have been it in our search terms. We can start having a look at this. That's now my main search term. I've got a description of what that is. I've got the option to search all content. I might want to go even further and keep going through these through these narrower terms. If it's not quite right, you can go back and have a little look how this works. Read the definition. Is this what I'm looking for? Is this something that's useful for my project? And if not, go back and really explore how these concepts are talking to one another. I'll go into parametric statistics and I can read about that, make a quick decision. Is this something useful to me? So a really good place to start if you're not sure what you're looking for. You've heard a term, you don't know what it means. Look it up. You can explore that a little bit further. It can help you also determine what the best approach might be. If you're teaching research methods and want your learners to really understand how these methods are linked or broken down, how they relate to one another, it's a really useful tool. We can see one of our search criteria here, paired t-test. If I click that, it tells me it's a statistical test for comparing correlated samples. I can then search all content on the paired t-test. It's going to take me back to this search list. Remember to click content available to me to make sure that you have useful information that you can access. We've got some books, a paired t-test and Wilcoxon test, fantastic. They were two of our search terms. I can start adding these to my reading list from here. I'm back on the methods map. We've sort of gone through narrower terms and broader terms. It can also be really useful if you're thinking about a particular method. So looking back at our list there, we've got the Mann-Whitney U test. So perhaps that's something I can search for. If I type that in here, we can see that the Mann-Whitney U test has come up as a method. So if you're thinking of a method you already know you're going to use, type it in. bring it up on the methods map. It will give you information. It's a non-parametric statistical test. I really need to stop picking things that use the word statistical on these sessions. It's not fun. And if you can then search all content on the Mann-Whitney U test, and I might want to save the search. Another thing you can do with this is save your searches on Sage Research Methods when you've got your profile set up. Always make sure you've got your content available to me. We can see our definitions, our reference works. We've got a dictionary there. Maybe I can use that to sort of give me an early definition and some related content that I can then go and explore. We can see also what else have we got. A data set. That could be really useful. We're going to look at data sets in a minute. So learn to use the Mann-Whitney U test. So that might be really, really useful to me. It might be another one that I'll add to my reading list there. In fact, let's look at data sets in more detail. So you're carrying out a research project, and when you've collected your data, you're going to need to analyze it. How can you practice those analysis skills? And perhaps you're teaching a class on how to conduct research, or you're running a research workshop, how to analyze XYZ data. Maybe you need data samples to use as part of an assignment or an exam. I'm scrolling down on the landing page to this I want to section. So if you know you want a specific type of content, and I'm going to click on data sets. So I'm a real fan of the data set. So a nice engaging way of getting some hands-on practice. Essentially, you find a data set and you practice analysing it. So our data sets are collections of data samples. You access them on the platform and you use that real life data to practice and develop your skills. There are if we click on data type, there are qualitative and quantitative data types available for you to analyse. You might want to go in by discipline. We can see medicine, nursing, dentistry, public health listed there. I'm going to browse by method. So again, we're thinking, what methods did you use to collect that data? Let's pick up one of our methods that we picked up from our case study. So we've got the Wilcoxon test, and it's searching for any data sets linked to this. Again, it's giving me a nice link to the methods map if I want to see any broader terms or see how that's broken down, check the definition. And we've got our data set. So let's open one up. Learn to use the Wilcoxon signed rank test in SPSS. So with data from the health insurance marketplace. So I've opened my data set here. And at the top, it's telling me more about where this data set is from. I've got the data set information here. And at the top here, always a little bit more information. It tells you who it's suitable for, what methods it covers, any keywords, the disciplines this is particularly useful for. So always check on that and make sure you're finding something that matches what you're trying to do. And if we scroll down, we've got our data set. It's there available straight away on the platform. This is asking me to download it. It's giving me various file formats that I can do that and so that's really nice. I might want to preview that data set to see exactly what that contains and what that looks like. I've got to say that scares the living out of me. Let's close that right down. And we've also got a code book, so we can really look at that and we can download that. You might want to use that as exam materials perhaps as well. We've got our same functionality. I'll add this to our list. I'm going to keep doing this all the way through. I promise you this list is going to be exciting at the end. And again, we can cite and we can share it. So you've got your data, practice analysing it, off you go. We're not that cruel. We're going to give you some guidance on doing that. So if you go to teaching and learning material, there's a student guide. And what this does is it includes step-by-step guides, easy to follow instructions on how to analyze and handle that data. So you've been presented with the data in the data tab. Now here's what you need to do with it, how to approach that data set, how to draw conclusions from it. And the whole idea is for you to then practice doing that yourself. So this is telling us what is the test. That's a nice starting point. How it relates to the data in the data sets. We've got here the data itself, analysing the data, how to present it. So if you're presenting results from a Wilcoxon signed rank test, this is giving you information and advice on what to do with it. So the idea of the whole idea of these data sets is when you go to analyze that same sort of data in your own project, you've had practice early on how to approach it, how to get the best out your results. You've got those tips there. The student guide is also embeddable. So if you are faculty and you want to use these data sets, you can also embed that student guide on a learner management page or a course learning page, perhaps your Moodle or your Blackboard, for students to easily access and use that information to analyze those types of data. Again, I'll just remind you that chat panel's open. If at any point you've got a question or you'd like me to pause on anything, please do let me know. I really want to make sure I'm providing you with information you want to take away. Any feedback you've got and anything you're seeing on the platform's all really good as well. I'm back on my landing page. We're really starting to work our way through some of these methods that we identified earlier on in the session. The one format type we haven't looked at yet really are cases. So if I go back to I want to, and I know I want to look for a case, I can give that a quick click. You can see that the 3 different collections are hyperlinked here. So 1 and 2, which are sort of cross-disciplinary, separate collections, but essentially the same in regard with what they support with. 1 focused on medicine and health, which might be really useful to you as a medical sciences campus. And essentially, as I spoke about at the start, these are case studies. So they include commentaries by real life researchers. How did I conduct my research project? And you might want to look at how others have conducted their research project or a similar project to yours. Perhaps they have similar themes, concepts, similar methods, or methods you've been taught about in the classroom. How has that been applied to real life research? And we've got some options. You can browse by discipline. We've grouped, again, some subject areas in that way where it's particularly useful to that field. You might want to go in by academic level, and certainly if you're faculty and if you're looking for maybe a shorter, less complex project for undergraduates. Obviously, if you're looking at postgraduate, you might be looking at things that are a bit more complex or collaborative research. We're going to browse by method as quite an important focus if you're thinking about the methods that are being used and how that data is being collected. You can also search for cases here. So if I type in, let's go for Fisher's exact test. That was one of the ones I've got on in my list that we identified from our case study. And I'm going to give that a quick search. So we can see we've got our methods map description. We can go back to our methods map on that. And we might want to start searching through this list. So as a researcher, you might find cases that inspire you to take your own research in a particular direction, find some relevant cases, have a look at these methods, have a look at these keywords. It's really good for zoning in why a researcher made the choices to use these methods. And the idea is when you're carrying out your own project, see if anyone else has faced a similar challenge to you. It can even give you an evidence on taking a certain approach or steps to follow. Check that these methods and keywords match your own. Add them to the reading list from here if they're going to be useful. You might want to create a list of cases linked to a particular method. Certainly if you're faculty, you want to look at real life projects. If you're teaching a class that's going to be conducting research projects using interview data, find a case that approaches this, how to conduct interviews, how to formulate interview questions, the practical considerations, then really think about analysing and how conclusions have been drawn from that. Let's open one of these cases up. Let's see what this looks like. And we've got standardised expert evaluation, an approach to study new medical technology. We've brought in this has led us from our method, our Fisher's exact test, our chi-square test is also one of our search terms, again looking at the disciplines, and these are all hyperlinked if you want to do a bit of an explore. We've got the same functionality as well, so we can download it, we can cite it, we can add it to our list, which I'm going to do right now while I remember. I promise you this reading list is going to be worth it. We've got an abstract we can read straight away. Is this something that's going to be useful to me? We've got learning outcomes. Does this match what you want to learn by the end of reading this case? As faculty, does this match up with your learning objectives for this particular module or area of your course? And it's broken down. We've got a nice project overview. We can click on sections. I like practical lessons learned. I think that's a really good one. There you've got recommendations from this real life researcher. What did they learn from doing things in a certain way? What can I take from that? You're being given the benefit of hindsight without actually having to bump into the furniture yourself. We've got a conclusion. Here we've got some discussion questions. And there's a really good question come in there, and I'm going to address that in a moment. It's a really good question. Thank you for that, Niska. We can see discussion questions. These can be really good for in-class discussion, a nice teaching tool. If you're a researcher, you want to reflect independently on the method being discussed and give you a really good understanding of the project. But I would urge you to have a look through. There are lots of ways you can use these to identify best practice, to help make your research the best it can be, and a nice teaching tool to demonstrate a particular module as well. In fact, let's open that back up. One thing I do want to point out as well before we leave this is always check related content. I've talked about the hyperlinks. You're sort of exploring and grabbing all these bits and pieces. It's always worth a quick check on that. We can see data sets on our Pearson's chi-squared test, for example. We know that's on our search list. So always have a look in that to see what methods are linked to this, data sets that are linked to this, cases that are linked to this, really building up your portfolio of resources so that you can start to explore. We've been adding lots of things to the reading list here. If I click on my profile and go to my reading list, and there's a really good question that's come up in the chat panel. If I create a folder of resources, can I share it? And absolutely you can. So you can also embed it. So when we come onto the reading list, we can see our most recently modified reading list here at the top. A quick click on the title and we can see all these lovely resources we've been saving. And you might want to create multiple lists. You can see in my training, I've got various lists that I've created on various different topics, different methods. As faculty, I might want to create a list. I might want to share this with somebody specific. I think that's going to help them use this to support a particular method I'm using in a module. Pre-class reading for my students. The really good question about can you embed it? Absolutely you can. So a quick click on embed, you might want to put that in your virtual learning environment, in your course pages. There's the HTML code there for you to embed that reading list. A quick note, when you make your reading lists, you can keep them as public, which means you can share them with others, or you can make them private if it's something you want to keep to yourself. And you can absolutely create several lists. You want to create them for different methods. You want to create them for different areas, different projects, different topics. And you can label those as you wish. You can call them whatever's useful to you. You might want to call it Module 3A. It means nothing to anyone, but you know what that is, and you can share that with your learners on Module 3A. You can embed that, you can share that. If you're a librarian, you might want to put together lists to add to your subject library catalogue. They might cover research methods linked to a particular field or discipline, or perhaps you're running a research skills workshop and you want ready-made reading lists or support materials to embed in a course page. If you're a researcher, it's a really quick and easy way to find your materials. Think about resources that are going to be useful to you in your planning. You've got them all in one place. Make multiple lists linked to different areas of your project, different stages of your project, different methods, different areas of your research. So that's our reading list. We've had a good tour of our platform. We've managed, I think, to search all of our search terms from our case study there that we identified. I think we've managed to hit them all, so that's good work. Let's recap. Let's think about what we did. So we searched for cross-sectional studies on the home landing page. We typed it in. We searched by discipline. We searched by discipline medicine. We searched by content type. We changed it to reference. We modified our search using the modify search, the advanced search function, to find a useful book chapter. We searched through those chapters and we found content from another chapter of the book. We also found a data set, Learn to Use Pearson's chi-square test, and that's for searching related content. So clicking on those hyperlinks, searching through what's related. We went to I Want To on the home page and we searched for cases. We typed in Fisher's exact test. This is my typing. We found a case where the same method had been used. We looked at that to see if anything we can take from that for our own project. We went to the methods map. We found, by browsing through the methods map, we found the paired t-test. We browsed through the various quantitative analysis methods to find that book chapter, paired t-test and Wilcoxon test. We typed a search term into the methods map. We typed in, I'm doing that typing thing again, I will have to stop doing that, like Mr. Burns, a man, Whitney, you, and we typed that into the methods map tool to find content on the Man Whitney U test. We found a data set. Finally, we went to the I Want To, we went to data sets. We looked at that by method. We found our Wilcoxon signed rank test data set to practice our analysis skills. So we took the methods we wanted to use, we took them to the platform, a number of different ways of browsing and finding that information. Anybody got any questions or anything that you want me to recap on before we move on to the next section? I'll take a sip of water while we have a think. Okay, we're all looking good. This is good news. It's very good news because what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to give you all maybe 10-15 minutes on the platform. I'd like you to take some time to explore and think about, it might be a topic you're researching, there might be a method you're interested in, maybe you're having a challenge related to your own project, a method that you're interested in researching more. Think about the stage your research is at, the methods, the data you're analysing. And what I'd like you to do is go to Sage Research Methods, and I will re-put the link to your library catalogue in there as well, just to make sure, again, always make sure that you're accessing the resource through your library, your institutions, so that you're recognised as a user from there. There's some search tips on the page, but use the landing page search bar. Maybe you want to filter your results down. You might want to use the advanced search. Explore the cases and the data sets from the I Want To section on the home page. You might want to try out the methods map project planner. You might want to start putting a reading list together. And by all means, I'm going to give you a bit of time to explore. I'm also going to keep the Mentee meter open, and I'll re-put the link back to that also into the chat panel. And what I'd like you to do as you work through this is give us some feedback on the platform. I want your feedback and your questions. Browse the site. If you want to use the chat panel, if you do have any questions, I'm not disappearing. But I want you to also think about your key takeaways from today's session. What are you finding that's relevant, that's useful, that's interesting? Have you found a particular book, a particular section, a particular tool that you're enjoying and that you're finding a lot out of? Is there something that you can't find? I'll stay online. I'm available. I'm going to leave you for 10 minutes. I would love everyone to explore and feedback. If you need my help in finding anything, let me know in the chat panel, type it in, and I will pick these up. But let's give you, let's say 10 minutes to 13 past 10, are you? It's 13 past 3 for me, so I think you're 13 minutes past 10. Please take 10 minutes, come back, let's discuss it as a group and find out what you found. Off you go. And I do have a question in there. Absolutely, if you need to rush away, that's fine. But if you have more questions, absolutely, please do get in touch. I'd be more than happy to hear from you. Also, your fantastic library staff at University of Puerto Rico Medical Sciences campus. You've got a fantastic crew there if you do have questions. But yeah, if you're still on the session, absolutely type those questions into the chat panel. Hopefully you're all finding the platform okay. Any problems accessing it, let us know in that chat panel and we can pick that up. Rosanna and myself can have a look. How do I find Sage in the library? Somebody's written. So I'm going to put a link in the chat panel and I will open that up on my screen as well. So when you go onto the page, the link that I've just put onto that the chat panel there, if you scroll down, you can see the A to Z databases here. and we can see Sage Research Methods, and it's there you want to be clicking, and that will take you to Sage Research Methods. I don't think it will work for me because I'm not, unfortunately, part of your campus, but you'll be taken there to log your library login. Anybody's having any problems of getting onto the site, let me know. If you've got any questions that you'd like me to answer in the next 10 minutes, anything you're not finding, let me know. If you are finding lovely stuff, let us know on the Mentimeter as well. Rosanna's just put a link directly for Sage Research Methods via Open Athens. If you click on the link that Rosanna's just saved in the chat panel, just shared in the chat panel, that will take you directly to Sage Research Methods as well. I'll speak to you in a few minutes. Shout me if you need me. Some good feedback coming into the Mentimeter. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, give me a shout in the chat panel. I'm more than happy to help. Thank you, Victoria. see lots of thank yous coming in. Thank you. It's been great to see you online today, and hopefully you're finding lots of really useful, interesting things on the platform as well. If anybody can't find anything, or if you're having any issues, let us know in that chat panel too, so I can offer you my full support. And we'll all feed back in a few minutes. Let's find out what you've been finding, what you've been discovering, what you like, what you don't like. Don't forget, I've got that Mentee meter open as well. I want to hear what your key takeaways are. What actions are you going to take after this session? What are you enjoying learning more about? What are you surprised to see? What are you finding really useful and interesting? And I can see somebody, you've already created your profile. Fantastic, it's good work. So I want to see those reading lists getting created and shared. If you need me to go over anything again, let me know as well. I can help you out with that if you're not sure how anything works on there. Give me a shout. And somebody's asked if I can be contacted. Absolutely, I'll pop my details up at the end. I'm more than happy to hear from researchers or faculty if you've got any questions about the platform. Don't forget, you've got your library at the university as well, who are all experts in supporting you with your research too. So absolutely use those resources, use those networks. I'm more than happy to be contacted if you've got any questions about the platform. Absolutely no problem at all. It's always lovely to hear from you. I'll give you another minute or so. If you've not yet added your takeaways to the Mentee meter, pop them on there now. You've got another minute or so. Let's hear about what you're finding, what your takeaways are, what you're finding interesting or useful or relevant, or what you're particularly excited to see today, what you know you're going to go away and use. Okay. I appreciate it's a massive platform to go through in 10 minutes, but let's have a hear from you now. Your thoughts and what you're really excited to use on the platform, what you found, what you've discovered, and how you think it's going to be useful to you. We've had a couple of contributions to the Mentee meter. Let's have a look. Fantastic platform. Yeah, I'd agree. As a researcher, I think it's second to none. It's going to be so useful to you, as you say, providing that orderly way how teachers can teach and how graduate students can go through all steps to create their research proposals. Absolutely. So you've got the tools on there for helping you to organise, to plan your research, to go through those various stages and steps. And absolutely, such a vast number of ways you can also use that if you are teaching, if you are faculty, to use those resources and to take them forward into skills workshops. Learning more about how to find the research for different methods and research question. Fantastic. Yeah, so going onto the platform, thinking about your methods, really exploring the different kinds of resources that are there to support you with those methods, and also formulating your research question. Again, thinking about the methodology you're using in your project, making sure that the work that you're producing all links back to that argument, that research question that you set out, and that methodology you're using is the correct one to help you to answer that question. Somebody's enjoyed exploring the project planner. Absolutely, it's a fantastic tool. Just when it comes to that framework to help you plan and help you organize your work and to know what to expect at each stage and to answer those questions that you have, it's a really good way to get that information, then to carry that forward, find out those foundations of information. Okay, what do I need to do now? Get that straight in your mind, go away and then look for that further content to really cement those ideas and to support your project. how to use it and get information from there. Yeah, so throughout the platform, use those hyperlinks, go into that related content, have a deep dive, have a click around, see where it leads you. You can find some really useful information there. Did anybody have a go with the methods map? And you can answer in the chat panel if that's easier. Did anybody go straight there, or has anybody got any feedback on the methods map? Or anybody got any feedback in the chat panel or on the Mentee about anything useful they found? I like the methods map. I'm a bit of a fan, but that's really good. I'm glad you've all, anyway, I know I appreciate it's not a lot of time to go through. We've got such a it's a massive database, but I mean, the whole point today is really to think about giving you that knowledge and that confidence to go in and explore, to demonstrate the kind of things we have on the platform, but also for you to really think about how you can apply that to your own projects and how it's going to be useful to you. And hopefully I've managed to get that across for you today, and that you're going to have a bit more confidence. You're looking forward to going in and finding some of that content. If you want to learn a little bit more about SAGE research methods, we do have a really fantastic training page. In fact, I'll open that up very, very quickly on my screen here. We have a training resource centre. We've got a section for SAGE research methods and lots of lovely bits and pieces to help you. So an overview video, user guides, there are top tips on there as well. If you want to teach others how to use SAGE research methods, we've put some training presentations and activities. Also, if you want to promote SAGE research methods, I might be talking more to the librarians and the faculty, but you can absolutely, there are email announcements, there are sample social media posts, there are posters, there are banners, lots of lovely bits and pieces to really get people using SAGE research methods in your university, and to support them with that as well, with some of these fantastic resources here to help you. And similarly, if you are running any research skills workshops, and today's been an absolute delight and a pleasure to come along, but I'm always happy to come along and give you that support to provide you training or demos of the platform, and please do feel free to get in touch with me. I'll keep the session open for questions. I've also put a link into the chat panel if you do want to give any feedback on the training today, whether it's been useful to you. We really want to make sure these sessions are useful and they're enjoyable, and that you're getting something out of it. I'll very quickly just pop my details up on there. You can see my contact information on the screen. Please feel free to note that down if you've got any queries about the platform, about the training. And as I've said a few times as well, you've got your marvellous library staff who are experts in research and in supporting you. And I know Rosanna's just put up a final evaluation as well. So if you could make sure that you're clicking those links and filling in that evaluation for the end of your activity today, please do that. I hope today's given you a good level of understanding, some confidence to go in and explore this platform, that you've started to think about the various ways it could be useful to you and how you can use it, and that it's been a really enjoyable and useful session. It's been great to see so many of you online, great to hear your feedback and to have you all involved in the chat panel as well. I'll thank you very much for your time. I know that it's been it's always a busy time, but thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, delight to be invited along and to support you. I am happy to take any questions. If you do have any at the end, please do use the chat panel. I will stay on as long as you need me to. But I'll just say, for those of you that are at the end of the session, thank you very, very much for joining today. An absolute delight and a pleasure. I can see some lovely feedback coming into the chat panel. So thank you very much. Bye-bye for now. Take care.
Clear, just seeing a couple of more minutes in case anyone has another question. But from the University of Puerto Rico Medical Science Campus Library, it has just been a joy for us to have you with us during this morning for us and your afternoon for you. It's very enlightening, very direct, very simple explanation and to use. And from various of the comments I've seen, a couple of professors that I do know are using and want to use it. So probably there'll be another question or a takeaway for like maybe another presentation later on with you. If that would be possible, it would be just great for us also.
Absolutely. I'm more than delighted to come along. If there's anything I can support you with, any demonstrations, if you want to do a bit of a deep dive and bring your projects along and ask for my support, anything like that, absolutely more than happy to come along and support you in using the platform as much as I can, Charles. So please do get in touch, and my details are there. And thank you, everybody. It's been great and really good. I can start my weekend now.
Thank you for joining us, and have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care.